We're recording. Hiya. Good afternoon, Amanda.
Good afternoon.
You'll have to forgive me for my Zoom disastrous. I'm disastrous with technology, so I'm only getting used to the whole thing, as we all are. But anyway, it's lovely to meet you, and it's lovely to know that you're in sunny Spain while I'm talking to you. I'm a bit envious. So it's nearly easier for me just to give a tiny brief overview, because people don't particularly like talking about their own biogs. So my introduction to you, I was hearing from a very good friend of ours who owns the most beautiful shop in the west of Ireland, and one of the most beautiful shops in Ireland, Oh by Gum. And she's got an organic shop. You've been, obviously, it's a magnificent shop, Sharon, and it's just beautiful. Sharon Griffin. So Sharon told me I had to talk to you because I was looking to talk to people full of positivity, full of energy, and Sharon was saying she couldn't do it herself, but she just thought you'd be the perfect person to talk about the current situation we're all in, because you're such a positive spirit, and because you've come through so much, like, personal challenges with, like, so much, you've done it with such, so it appears so much ease, I suppose, really, but it probably isn't. So I'll hand over to you, Amanda, because I really know very little about your life. Your background is Irish, obviously, but I'll let you tell your own story, and I'll interject then if I have questions, if that's all right. So how did you end up in England? You have an Irish background, for starters.
Absolutely. So yeah, thank you, Debbie, and thanks for the invitation, and big thanks to Sharon Griffin for connecting us. That's lovely. I did see your TED talk earlier in the year, so I feel like I know you a little bit. So yeah, I'm from some Irish background. My family are all from West Cork, in that area, and but I was born in London. So, I was born in London, but grew up in the kind of London Irish community.
Okay.
And always felt very, very, I feel Irish. I feel like more Irish than I do English. So I went off traveling when I was 18 and did years of traveling, like 9 years. And so I guess I got used to being in sunny weathers and blue skies, and I loved that lifestyle. And when I had my children, I've got 2 children, one who's going to be 21 next week, Alice, so she's going to be on lockdown with her mum for her 21st birthday. That wasn't the plan.
Before you go on, how did you afford to travel for 9 years?
I just did, work my way around, really. I don't know. I had a plan. I think at the time I had a round the world ticket, and I think I had £1,000 saved up, and off I went and I worked, and it unfolded.
Wow.
Yeah,
so a very love experience.
Sorry, it did, yeah.
Very love experience.
It did indeed. And I did all sorts of things, and I worked on cruise ships for 3 of those years. So that was, I did earn money as I went along, and I lived in Hong Kong. Hong Kong was the last place I ended up in, and I fell pregnant whilst I was in Hong Kong, and that's what brought me back to London, really. And I think, Debbie, I just didn't really settle. I think after having that wanderlust, and yeah, so anyway, after 10 years moving around London a little bit and moving to the country in England just to see how that felt, I just felt it wasn't where I wanted to be. And so I bought a camper van. I sold my flat, I bought a camper van, and I drove to Spain 14 years ago with the 2 children who were 7 and 10 then. And it was,
wow.
It was a journey. And I've been here since, which has been incredible. I live in a tiny town called Javia, which is in between Valencia and Alicante. And we're on the mainland in Spain. We're right opposite Ibiza. So on a clear day, I can see Ibiza.
Okay, so beautiful lifestyle, quiet, beautiful lifestyle.
Yeah, I have a wonderful lifestyle, and I feel very, very, very lucky.
And you're a coach, Mandy. You're a coach currently, are you?
Yeah. So my name's Amanda OShea. I'm known as the Loving Life Coach, and I run a business called The Serendipity Experience.
Okay.
And that just is something that evolved also. I come from a holistic therapist background. So for 25 years, I was, doing things like reflexology and massage and Reiki, and naturally kind of progressed into a world of coaching. But I think the biggest gift that I received, and the biggest, what I would call, help that I've ever had, was coming across an understanding of how the mind works about 8 years ago.
Okay.
And I came across something that just blew my mind, and it explained to me all human behavior. It explained to me how we create the human experience.
Okay, go on, explain. Now, I did watch you on YouTube. I watched a bit of this on YouTube because you do have your own YouTube channel. But go on, explain this to me now, just in a few seconds. Well, as you know, give me your elevator pitch on this. How do you explain this?
And so, you know, it was just I by serendipity, you know, I just sort of was invited to a talk and went along, and what's so funny actually, when I was first introduced to it, and it's commonly known as the inside out understanding, or the 3 principles is what it's kind of commonly known as, and it is an understanding of psychology of mind, about how the human experience is actually created. And I think when I first listened, I sort of thought, oh yeah, I know all that. You know, the know-it-all inside of me got in the way. Yeah, they're talking about thought. Yeah, I know all about that, because I'd been a big searcher, seeker, but actually, so I kind of missed it. When I was first introduced to it, I missed it in that, oh yeah, I know all that stuff. But when I actually got the chance to listen, when I had my huge insight, it really was for me like a self-realization of who we are, what we are, and I think especially in this pandemic now, you know, pointing back to, oh my goodness, there's just this one energy behind life. Call that whatever you are comfortable with, universal intelligence, nature, God, energy, whatever words you use, sort of running the show. And then we get to create this separate reality of circumstances. Right? The mechanics of the mind, the mechanics of how that works, had never ever been shared with me. I'd never come across that in such a simple way. And it was an, oh my God.
Okay.
Oh my God.
You've been using that then to coach ever since. Is that right?
And since then, that's exactly what happened. I just got to my own understanding of that deepened, and it just naturally progressed. And I did some training with a great guy called Jack Pransky, who is an American guy. I did sort of 3 years training with him, and there's a guy called Sydney Banks, who is who kind of had his own, I suppose, epiphany, and kind of got to see, like, wow, we live in a thought created reality, and we're constantly creating our own reality. And so I think what happened with that, Jimmy, what was so amazing about that was I'd always been a happy girl. So I didn't come across this understanding because I'd been depressed or I was suicidal, or, I was, highly in addiction or anything like that, which is what I hear a lot of stories, what leads people, these kind of, these experiences like pandemics actually can be gifts in disguise. That doesn't mean we don't have empathy and compassion for suffering and those people that are suffering or have lost people, but the gift of something that is so huge. This is so huge, it's beyond our.
Tell me why you think. Why do you think we're going to learn from it? Is that why you think it's a gift?
That would be, that would be the way I see it naturally. So
yes,
seeing it that way is, there's excitement there, as well as the concern for us as a planet, but any chance to elevate that kind of human consciousness or levels of consciousness is amazing. And I love that it is like a global intervention, and that we all have been kind of sent to rehab or sent to our rooms to reflect on, wow. And I've heard different people talking about, you mentioned the other day, or I heard you saying something the other day, I think on one of your talks, about how the human mind, the human memory is very short, and we're such creatures of habit, and we'll soon just be back into the normal. And I think that what we, and I'm not saying that's not true for many people, but the normal was the problem, right? So that the normal was the problem. I think everybody knows that, and we can't talk to the whole world, but you know what? I can talk to me, and I can talk to you, and that's all I need to do. One person at a time. We find ourselves in that, what I would call that state of love, back to our core nature, back to who we truly are, and we look at this world from that place, and we act from that place, and we touch people one at a time, you know,
Mhm.
one person at a time. Again, we get touched, and that's all that I can do, is point people back to their own wisdom. Because
I
if I'm
heard
more,
Amanda, I heard you on your YouTube talking about resilience, that people have it as kind of, they don't have to find it. We all actually have it anyway. And I
yeah,
completely agree with you. And what irritates me is I'm listening to the radio. You might be slightly more removed, and even the world you're in, you may remove yourself. We've the radio on here at the moment. We're all locked down, and it's constant anxiety. I mean, we've doctors on nearly telling us about the anxiety and the depression we're going to feel. Like, if they keep telling you you're going to be depressed and they keep telling you you're going to feel anxious, you definitely are going to feel depressed and anxious. Whereas I think we all have an inner spirit that we should, like, if we could not think about it that way, if we could not think about it that way and think about it, as you say, nearly as a lesson that we've all learned, and to use that in a positive way and not a negative way, instead of people falling apart and thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be depressed coming out of this. Let's not think about it that way. So you seem to have completely cracked that. Now, in saying that you're that type, because your house, am I right in thinking your house burnt down about 3 or 4 years ago?
yeah, I had a big fire 3 years ago. Actually, we lost
You
everything.
lost
Like,
everything. Yes. Yeah, yeah. So, and you came out of that, and I believe, like, completely coping with the whole situation. Whereas, so you're obviously have that mindset that you're able to nearly come out and think, okay, what's next? What did I learn? You know, what's next? Rather than go, let it bury you, you know?
I think there is, you know, I would really encourage people to look in this direction, you know, to use this lockdown or this quiet time, this reflective time, to learn something new about how their psychological system works. And when we get to see that, the joy of that is that we get to see, like, hands off, you know, we don't make things happen, circumstances happen. And the more that we see that, the more that we see that we are not controlling anything, the more that we let things unfold. And what happens then, how I see it, Debbie, is we stay in clarity, or we remember that actually clarity is our neutral state. Clarity is our is our home state. Clarity, resilience, well-being, love, gratitude, compassion, those raw materials of being human, those things that are innate, we were born with them. Every single person on the planet has them. If you're human, that's your base. And so what we build on top of that is stories, and we love that, and there's nothing wrong with, you know, especially the Irish, we love a story, you know,
Yes.
and that is it. And
Yes.
there's nothing wrong with that. But behind the story, behind the anxiety, behind the insecure feelings, behind the insecure behavior, is that we're okay. No matter what, we're okay. And that sounds bizarre maybe for some people. And so this is what I see when people are talking in a place that might sound like it's coming from an expression of fear. You know, that is what they can give us. If I am in a place of love and clarity, then that's what, you know, that's what's coming out of me. My behavior is like that. If I'm in a place of insecurity or fear, then my behavior will be so. So when we are listening to people, we can tell whether, you know, we've got something inside of us called wisdom. It's that innate, you know, it's amazing, and it's with us all the time. We know when something's right for us or feels truth for us. And so
But
people
Mandy,
can,
Mandy, I'm going to cut across you because we can't let these things go on too long, or I can't post them. So I mean, obviously you're totally in tune with nature. I'm gathering you're totally. I mean, your choice of lifestyle is one we all probably envy. What you're to end on words of wisdom. To end on your words of wisdom for people who may be worrying or thinking that this is going to be a catastrophe. What would you say in your pearls of wisdom in a few sentences?
I just think that, you know, I like people to know we're designed for this kind of stuff. You know, there's a beautiful quote by a guy called, it's John Shedd, and it says, you know, ships feel safe in harbour, but that's not what ships are built for.
Okay, yeah, very good. Beautiful, actually. I never heard it before. It's gorgeous.
And that's us, right?
Okay.
We're designed to weather the storm, and every experience is a gift. And if the only, you know, if the only thing that people could see was that, if the only thing, there's a Sydney Banks quote, if the only thing that people could see, that, you know, or if the only thing that people understood was their own experience, you know, that alone would change the world. If we could see there's a gift in every experience, the good, the bad, and the ugly, then what we don't do is try and control it or run from it, and we just flow with it, and then wisdom talks to us. So that's maybe a nice place to leave it.
Okay, well listen, it's just gorgeous to meet you and to talk to you.
Yeah, we talk all day, that's for sure.
Yes, exactly. And listen, stay safe over there.
Yeah, we'll do.
I'll see you in Connemara for a glass of wine, I'm sure, at some point when all this blows
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So from Spain to yours, cheers to
Thanks
everybody.
a million. Lovely to meet you, Amanda. Bye-bye.
Lots of love. Bye-bye.